Welcome back. I'm now joined by two experts who wake up to the crack of a bat and a pop of the glove, Greg Brzezowski and Joe DiRienzo. Now, guys, we're only a weekend into the season, but which team's fans have the most reason to be optimistic or pessimistic, Joe?
Well, to me, the Oakland A's fans definitely need to be optimistic about the year. If you look at their team dynamic, very similar to the way the San Francisco Giants were set up for their World Series team. I mean, great pitching staff, bolstered their bullpen. They've got a couple of decent hitters. Not great, but it's enough to make their pitching win.
But isn't there a little bit of an issue on how exposed their pitching staff has been? They're so young, Joe.
I mean, if Buster Olney has impressed by Gio Gonzalez, I'm going to go with him on his word. As the fourth starter, he's going to really step up this year. Now, on the other hand, the Washington Nationals have nothing to look forward to this year as fans because they're built on young guys. Bryce Harper, Steven Strasburg. They don't get to see any of them this year. Bryce Harper's 17. He's not going to be playing. And Steven Strasburg's coming off a Tommy John surgery. So what have they got to go to games for?
Nothing really, but that basically proves that being a Nationals fan very lackluster this year. Meanwhile, though, optimism, again, in Philadelphia, very high because of what the Phillies were able to do this offseason. They make the best rotation in baseball even better by adding in Cliff Lee, and I don't think there's another team in the NL that's more talented to really beat this team to stop them from getting to the World Series for another year.
Aren't you worried about them being over 30? Every one of their team's over 30 except Ben Francisco.
There's so much talent, and pitching wins championships, Joe. When your Cole Hamels is your fourth starter, I'm trusting that. Meanwhile, pessimistic city has to be St. Louis. Now, you have to think this is a talented ball club, but they're going to be worrying all year about if Albert Pujols is going to stay or go by the end of the season. And also, Adam Wainwright, one of your aces, out for the season with Tommy John surgery. Now, you have a big challenge to try and beat Cincinnati, a team that shows a lot of promise, and I don't think it's going to be that easy for the Cardinals to try and get to the playoffs.
I disagree with you both. I'll be quite honest. How about the Baltimore Orioles? Their fans have reason to be optimistic. Let me tell you this. Since Buck Showalter took over, they are 6 games better than the Yankees, 8 games better than the Red Sox in the AL East. The Rays, pessimistic. 1 run against those Orioles on opening day weekend. That's awful. Now, Greg, tell me which player, coach, or team is under the most pressure this season?
Well, it's one of those AL East teams, Christian. It's the Boston Red Sox. Every single analyst has been pretty much writing this team into the World Series this offseason after they're bringing in Carl Crawford and Adrian Gonzalez. Not so fast, okay? Look, this team has a lot of holes, especially in their pitching rotation, which is incredibly overhyped. Past John Lester, I don't see a lot of promise. Josh Beckett had an awful season last year. Clay Buchholz only had 1 good year. And Daisuke, forget about it.
Yeah, there's not. The AL East is so tough, there's no way the media can just write them in right away. To me, though, Grady Sizemore needs to really step it up this year. Microfracture knee surgery last year, hernia and elbow surgery the year before. I mean, crazy injuries after proving that he was one of the better power speed combos in the league. 4 years in a row he went 20-20. He's got to get back to close to that. Going into a free agency or team option contract year, he's got to get paid in the offseason.
How about the managers in the Windy City? Both of them, both teams put a whole lot of stock in this season. I think both of them could get the hook if they don't succeed this year. We are out of time, and so we are going to send it over to Eric Kendall, who is joined by Joey Accordino to put the finishing touches on a wild college basketball season. Guys?
Thanks, Christian. I'm now joined by our most outstanding player, Joey Accordino, to look back at what was a very good NCAA tournament. Maybe not such a good final game, but let's address that a little bit, but then talk about the good things about this tournament. Well, what do you have to say about the bad part first?
You know, Eric, it's so ironic that the tournament ended as it did because, to me, this NCAA tournament was about the shot making. In the national championship game, no one could buy a bucket. But you look back at the best moments of the tournament. Morehead State beating Louisville on a last-second 3. You look at VCU's overtime shot against Florida State. So impressive. Brandon Knight with 2 game winners. This was great. Crunch time shooting at its greatest from college basketball players.
Oh, wow. Yeah, the shot making was impressive throughout the tournament. Would have liked to see Butler make a few more. Yeah. Let's talk about some guys that are thinking about making their shots on the next level next season. But you're going to be the decider right now.
We're going
to talk about which guy should stay, which one should go. Jared Sullinger, the big man at Ohio State. Let's address him first. What should he do?
Such an impressive collegian. I don't think anyone really expected him to be as dominant as he was his first year in college basketball, but he made his living inside, getting tough buckets in the paint. Right now, he is an undersized power forward at the NBA level without a consistent mid-range game. That is not a good combination. I think he's going to go back to Ohio State for 1 more year, really develop that game. If he does, if he gets a consistent mid-range jumper, he will be a 12-year pro.
Oh, wow. Just 1 more year? You can't give me 2?
No, sorry.
Okay. Well, let's move on to a Tar Heel who's thinking about making the jump. But I think you think otherwise. John Henson, a lot of upside with this guy. What should he do?
Henson will come back as well, I believe. I think the trouble with Henson is he could be the next Anthony Randolph at the next level, another very talented lottery prospect with a great wingspan. John Henson was dominant on the glass and on the defensive end this year for North Carolina, but the trouble with him is that he does not have a refined offensive game right now. He doesn't have a go-to move unless that go-to move is an alley-oop. Once he gets that worked out, he could be a top 3 pick after his junior year next season.
Interesting. So those are the guys who should stay. Let's talk about the guys who you think might be going. Very talented freshman out of Duke, the point guard. Talk about him a little bit.
Yeah, you never want to shoo anybody out of school. Everyone should get their degree and all that whole business. But Kyrie Irving, this is the right time for him to make the move. Yes, he missed more than half of the season with a toe injury. Very unfortunate for Duke fans. Thank goodness I'm not one. But he still is the best point guard in this class. To me, he's still one of the top 2 prospects, along with Enes Kanter of Turkey. I think he will be the number 1, number 2, or number 3 guy when it's all said and done. He doesn't have a whole lot left to prove. The biggest knock on him is his size, and you can't improve that by staying in college longer.
Interesting. Well, let's talk about another guy who missed some time on the back end of the season, Perry Jones out of Baylor. What should he do? You're thinking he maybe should go also? Yeah,
not a lot of folks know about Perry Jones, even though he's uber athletic, so talented. Really a guy I think is more suited for the NBA level than the college level. Baylor does not run an appropriate offense for him. He's not going to improve there. He needs to make the jump now.
Wow, so he needs some space to create, you're saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the NBA definitely does that. Let's talk about, so we've made the additions, subtractions from the teams. Let's go ahead and think about next year. Who's your favorite to take it next year?
Eric, I'm so excited because we have 2 years in a row now where there was not an elite team, and you saw that in the national championship game where they combined for, I believe, 94 points or something like that. But next year you will have at least 1, maybe as many as 3 elite teams. I'm looking primarily at UNC, Kentucky, and Florida. Now, those 3 teams lose a combined 4 seniors, unless, yes, you could see early defections from those teams, but I think most of the guys will stay. Kentucky is bringing in 4 5-star freshmen. That's incredible next year, added to the guys they already have there, even if Brandon Knight and Terrence Jones leave. Very formidable group. UNC with John Henson, Tyler Zeller, Harrison Barnes probably coming back. They are tremendously talented and will grow even more. But my pick right now is Florida. I think they will take home the trophy next year.
Wow, interesting. We'll wait until next year so you can change your prognostication.
Thank you.
Until then, I tried to pull off that word. I can't believe it. Time to step away once again, but on the other side of this commercial break, Christian will sit down with our NBA resident experts and discuss the fast approaching playoffs. Don't go anywhere.